FedEx just left and dropped off this beautiful behemoth right here. We got our new little boat, that's right. All right, so I guess this is officially the first time I'm in my new boat, right? Welcome everybody to SK Lifestyle. It is a beautiful day here as we turn into spring. Yes, you can still see there's a little bit of snow on the ground, but I'm excited because of course I have my new inflatable catamaran. We also have a bimini top. So I'm gonna be putting all this together, showing you what comes with it, doing separate videos on many different things of this boat. So be sure you're hitting that subscribe button so you can catch all those videos. Of course, I will have a small gasoline engine that I'm going to be putting on this as well. So I'm going to be doing a lot of videos on that. You'll want to be sure to catch all of it. And with that said, I'm going to go through what's in the box, what it's like to set up. I'm going to do 2 quick tests. I'll fast forward through showing what it's like to manually inflate as well as use a portable pump in the manual inflate to top it off with. And then with that said, we should be pretty good to go. Now you can see I got a little wagon here. I just wanted to mention that because this thing is so big, the box itself is 4 feet by 2 feet by 16 inches. It probably weighs about 90 pounds. And I will do a quick, weight test with it just to put that up as well. But with that said, when I'm moving it around inside the garage or wherever, I definitely think a little wagon like this is useful. So I'm gonna keep this with me on vacation and stuff like that. And you can see I actually moved it out here on a little dolly that you lay on your back with in the garage, which worked out pretty well. Obviously I don't want to drag it on the cement and start ripping it. So that's also why I have a tarp. I'm gonna be laying that out and pretty much get to it. See what it's like, right? SK Lifestyle, hit that subscribe button. All right, and before we get started, be sure to subscribe to SK Lifestyle. Yeah, that's right. You just want to hit that subscribe button right there and the notification bell. All right, so I guess this is officially the first time I'm in my new boat, right? All right, well, still a little work to do, but I just wanted to give you some quick figures. So the boat itself is 86 pounds. With the inflatable floor, the floor is 18 pounds for a total of 104 pounds together. Now, the oars, those are 3.2 pounds. The benches are 10 pounds, and the pump is 1.8 pounds if you were to carry it with you. And also, if you have the bimini top, it is 10.4 pounds. So some interesting figures, definitely not super light, so you want to keep that in mind. All right, now for the fun part, let's get her inflated. Of course, I will be fast forwarding through this, so let's see. Unkink the hose there and begin. All right, so now I'm officially in my boat. It wasn't terrible, but it's not the kind of thing you want to do with a manual pump a lot. Maybe more than once, really. I'm not really looking forward to trying to do that all again. But I mean, if I'm going to do it for like a whole week of vacation, then fine. But I'm probably going to want to use my electric pump. Of course, hopefully the adapter fits it well. If not, then I'll probably be purchasing one, and of course I'll do a review on that as well. But at least you could see the time and what it took to do it manually, and some things to be learned, like the floor. I definitely think it could be a little bit firmer, so I'm going to try that out. But I'm going to do that on the next round, just because what I also learned was that the floor should have been a little more flush to the transom. I got about a 2-inch gap between the floor and the transom. But I kind of think that that might also be needed because, you know, if you have your motor mount or whatever there, then there's a little bit of a gap. But, you know, we shall see. I'll see how it works out. Also, I think inflating both sides just a teeny bit more at the beginning, maybe about like 60-70%, more like 70%. They did fit under the floor pretty well. You could tell these rubbers are meant to guide the floor. This one up front is kind of halfway above the top though. The rest of them are underneath. So that's definitely a learning curve. And of course, with the inflators, you just want to press down and turn to the right to make sure that they're in a setting where the air won't blow out automatically once you release the pump. All right, you can see the little valve right here. It's pretty self-explanatory, really well lit up, and there's a nice cover for it too, which is nice. So the key to making sure they don't just inflate, or deflate I should say, is twisting this to the right and it'll pop out. And then you can push down with the inflator, it'll blow it up, but when you release, it won't come out. And then of course you can plug it up with this thing. So again, you twist it to the left or down and to the left and it'll deflate on its own. Twist it down and to the right and it'll pop up and you're good to go and it won't leak out. Now the pump's okay, but it's very basic. Again, there's not a lot of resistance to it. One thing I did notice is, like, you know, you go to hook up the hose from the manual pump, and then when you go to, like, because the hose is right on the front where the handles are, so as you go to manipulate it and go to pump up and down, it can kind of contort the hose a little bit, and then it wants to pop off the socket thing, so or the adapter piece. So that's just one thing to note. I mean, if it's really a pain, you can always disconnect it from the pump, hook it up to the adapter, to the inflator piece, and then tighten it back on the pump itself. But it's just something to be mindful of. All in all, not too bad. Obviously, you can see I'm sitting on the front of the boat, and there's plenty of room behind me. So this is definitely a boat where you could fit 4 or 5 people. I mean, it'll get a little bit tight in that respect. But with just me and my wife and a little bit of gear and stuff, I mean, you could see how this thing, I mean, there's plenty of room. You know, you could have another person way up on the front and you're good to go. You got your little engine here. Man, I can't wait to get our little gas engine put on. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and throw on the seats right now and hook up the oars. And then I can go ahead and do the inflate test. Yes, I will deflate this thing and do it with a pump. And I'm doing it for the YouTube. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, support the channel. I appreciate you watching. Let's get to it. Too shabby. And yes, it is, I have read, and it probably is a little bit easier to have it slightly deflated and put these on, but you know, you can see I still got it done. And these are just a quick little push down tab, slide it in, lock in place, nothing to it. And these, they're not tricky at all. All you want to do is unscrew this piece. Then you want to put it right through here. And screw it back on top. And then you just plug it in. And there you go. All right, as promised, I'm gonna do the electric pump test, and yes, they do include an adapter, and yes, it does fit, should fit pretty much any normal air pump that you use for towable tubes or stuff like that. So let's start this thing. All right, so that should be pretty good for the electric pump. Now I'm gonna top her off with the manual pump just because you don't wanna overdo it. It's noisy, you don't hear, and then all of a sudden you pop something. This is just a regular standard pump. It doesn't have any gauge, so I can't set it to a certain PSI. All right, so I'll post up the time, but clearly it is much quicker with an electric pump. There is no question about that. And one thing I will mention, while you're blowing this up, the little clips that go in to protect the airlocks, don't forget to hold those up above the floor. Otherwise, they're gonna get buried underneath and you're not gonna be able to get them up without deflating and then pulling it out and reflating it back up. So just a SK pro tip. All right, so some final thoughts after we finished the unboxing and the inflate test. Well, as of this moment, I haven't actually got the figures on the inflating with the manual and the electric pump, but of course by the time of the video being released I will, so here's the figures. Now I can tell you just from an observation standpoint, clearly the electric pump was way better than the manual pump. I will give this thing credit. When you're pushing down, it is as easy to push down as it is to pull up. So there's very little resistance, but again, it's just a workout. If you're the type of person that's gonna be inflating this every weekend to go out fishing or something like that, just spend the money on an electric pump. It's gonna be worth it. You're not gonna wanna do that. Trust me, you're not going to want to. But it's great that you have it and you can have it as a backup when you're on vacation or something, just in case. Now this, I got this with the like tubes that we use to go tubing on the back of boats and stuff. If you want to buy it by itself without the tube, it's like 20 bucks. I did a video on that. I'll post it up above. But that thing works just fine. The only thing I will say is, of course, stuff like this does not have an exact gauge. So you can't set it to the specification of PSI you need. Therefore, you should only use it to get about 80%, where you could start to feel it firming up a little and giving shape, and then top it off with this. That's going to be perfectly fine. It's not going to be a problem to have to use this manual pump to top off, and that way you can actually hear it starting to hiss out of the airlock here. And then in the boat too, there's a little auto system there that you can hear it if it's like starting to inflate. Then you can kind of tell you're at that point and you're just going to have a good pressure and not worry about doing damage. Now, some of the other accessories, of course, you have this little thing here with the patch kit that it comes with. This looks like it'll float. Either way, I like the fact that it's very bright. And of course, you have some other things here. You have another airlock that it comes with. Hopefully you never need one, but if you do, at least you already have one with you that it comes with. That's really great. And then of course I showed the, what do you call it, attachment for the air pump. Just goes right on top. It's very simple. It should fit just about any air pump, and that's great. Although it comes in a little plastic wrap just in the package like that. So of course I'm gonna need to put it in something else. And my guess, I'm gonna put it in, if you've seen like those benches that have like the little cushions underneath, they have like a little bit of storage and whatnot. I'm probably gonna get one of those. Of course, I'll do a review on that as well. And that's where I'll put stuff like this, you know, maybe a small little anchor, you know, first aid kit, that sort of thing. So that's kind of my plan with that. And then of course it comes with the manual, comes with the bill of sale and all that stuff. And if yours doesn't have a bill of sale, there is a link right on the website, right in that package, where you can go to print one out online. Now that pretty much takes care of all the accessories, with the exception of the seats. Now the seats are nice. I showed a picture of those. They seem like very good quality. I like that there's hardened plastic on the side. It's not metal, so of course there's less chance of like damaging your inflatable boat. I've seen like reports or comments on maybe other inflatable boats where those seats have like plywood in them or something. This really doesn't seem like it. And if it does, the plywood would have to be so thin, I'm not quite sure they float. Now, I will do a video just on that by itself. Again, I plan to do like a series on just everything about these boats. So I'll do a float test with them. And I'm sorry if you hear some like crackling in the background and stuff. It's sleeting outside. Yes, believe it or not, between earlier shooting yesterday and now it's just New England weather. Sorry. But I don't really think they're going to float at all. Now, with respect to these oars are very good quality. I like them. They look nice. I do think they'll float, but only for a certain period of time. And I say that because remember, there's a hole right here where they lock in so that you can use them to row. Well, these are all hollow. So that hole, if you just used like a hose, you could fill up this tube with water. Now, if you drop it in the water and you go to retrieve it 15, 20 seconds later, I highly doubt it's dropping and sinking right to the bottom of the lake or ocean floor. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure it's just going to be sitting there floating. But if you're trying to come back 20 minutes later, there's a chance it might have gotten enough water inside where it takes it down. So that's just what I want to point out for those. But I think in most respects, I think it's going to be fine. And one thing, and of course I'll do a video on that as well, you could always just use like a pool noodle or something and put like a little piece here, maybe a little piece on the top or something, you know, try it out. And that way they're more visible. So if you drop it and you know the sheen of the sun on the water, sometimes very hard to see stuff. I drop floating sunglasses in the water all the time and I lose them because they floated, but I can't see it with the gleam of the sun and stuff. Same thing with this, it's silver. So it'll probably disappear on the water pretty easy if the sun's glistening just right. So if you have something like a bright neon green or red or something, it'll be easy to spot and it'll give you just that much more opportunity to retrieve it, you know, should something happen. So that's pretty much it for all the accessories. Now, I will say, as far as this boat inflating and deflating was fine. I think if I wasn't shooting a video and I was just doing it to get it done, it would have went even a lot quicker. Of course, I cut out the times that I used for the preparation when I'm taking time to do camera stuff and all that. I didn't include that in those kind of times. But I think it's very simple to put together. It's something that, now it is kind of bulky. I was surprised. It's probably like 20%, 25% larger than I was expecting, all the stuff combined. But we'll still be able to make it work. We have a little trunk on top that we use in the car, or you could still fit it in any kind of regular car too. But if you have a small like Prius or something, it's going to take up a lot of space. One thing I do want to talk about is the quality of this boat. Now, these boats are cheaper than some of the other ones out there that you can find that are like $2,500, $3,000. But yes, those are more rugged and they are probably more guaranteed to last like 7 to 10 years with heavy use. But I don't think most people are out there, you know, using it in the rapids or using it in very tough terrain and using it day in and day out. So I think for the average person, a boat like this is going to be more than adequate. And now, those might be more rugged, but don't get me wrong, this boat has quality. Where they place the D-rings on here, how many there are, where they place the airlocks, how they make the airlocks, the systems that they use, the grab handles, the systems to lock in the oars. Everything seems very locked down, tight, solid. I have no questions that this was made very well. And honestly, one thing that I'm very happy to see, you probably can't notice it even says on here though, and also says it on the back wall, the transom wall, it's made in Korea. So I was very happy to see that. Now, of course, this company distributes these out of Miami, Florida, and I'm very happy about that so I can support American business. And, you know, it's just somewhere local, at least for us that are stateside, or in the States, I should say, to have a company, because a lot of this comes from like Australia or, you know, China or something. But I'm glad that it came from, you know, stateside. And I'm glad that the company that's building these, to be honest, isn't China, because you can get a lot of cheap stuff from China, but 95, 99% of the time, it's made to a lot cheaper specificity than other manufacturers will do in other countries like Japan, like Taiwan, like Korea. So I'm it made sense. As soon as I started looking at it, I'm like, wow, if this is from China, I'm crazy impressed. And of course I saw Korea and I was like, well, it makes sense. You know, of course they make very great stuff over there. So I just want to say that this boat is not cheap. It's not one of these little Intex boats, and it's not something that I still expect it to get a lot of use. If it only lasts 5 years half the time, then fine, I go buy a brand new one for another $1,000 and I'm still ahead of the game from one of the other ones that cost $2,500 or $3,000. Number two, we're not going to be somebody that's using it day in and day out, not even really weekend in and weekend out. And even if you are, as long as you take care of it, I think you can really extend the life of this thing. Keep it covered in the sun when you're not using it. You know what I mean? Like, just take care. Maybe you need to grease up certain things, or what do you call it? Glue, you know, reseal certain things after a couple years. Just keep up that maintenance for 20 bucks of a tube of something, and then you're good to go. Now, I will say the Bimini top, which I will be posting up on a video right after this one, that one did say it was made in China, but that's fine. It's just a couple of poles and a piece of canvas. It seemed to be fine. I have no qualms about it either. And that's okay. So I'm not worried about it. And it was still, you know, it's still like $100, but that's all right. But I think the quality of this thing is something to be admired. I don't think it's, you know, one of those questions of, oh, well, you know, I'm afraid I'm going to sink or something. So, yo, this thing has 4 chambers plus the floor. So basically 5. Now, if you pop something, you're more likely still going to have 3 sides inflated plus the floor. That's another thing that I really like. Some of these inflatables, depending where you're getting it from, just have 2 tubes. You know what I mean? So you hit something, God forbid, then half of your boat is going down. And then maybe you have a floor, but if you don't have an inflatable floor and it's something like aluminum or something, then who knows? I mean, it might even weigh it down more. So I'm thankful for what we have. I think this is a great investment. These Saturn boats really seem to be made well, and I expect to get a lot of fun and good use out of it and very little problems. So again, I will be doing a series on this boat for Saturn boats, especially for the Catamarans. Not a lot of videos on the Catamarans, especially with the Bimini top. So be sure to check that out, see how we set that thing up. But again, I'll be having the gas engine come in soon. I'll be doing videos on that, on the setup and stuff, the speeds that we get and so forth, how it planes with this boat. So you're really going to want to check this stuff out and hit that subscribe button so you can do so. Hit the notification bell so you can be aware every time I release a video on all this stuff and all the other great stuff that I do, reviews, action sports, all of that. So I appreciate your time. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. SK Lifestyle will always get back to you. Be sure to smash that like button for me. And with that said, see you on the next one.